going to be making a healthy breakfast for the family for the next about a week or so. So I thought, why not give this cooking stream thing a try here? Today, I'm making frittatas. What are frittatas, you ask? Actually, pretty simple. I'm going to put my phone down just so I have the chat room open. Pretty simple what frittatas are. They are egg-based, usually fluffy, usually baked, sometimes fried, with basically mini omelets, for lack of a better term, that are just cooked to puffiness as opposed to just being served as eggs. Now, we have a little bit different of a household here, so I'm making some things a little different. Instead of using regular eggs, I'm using egg whites, liquid egg whites, because I am not so good at the cracking of the eggs and the, separating the yolks from the whites. So, alright, also, to add a little bit of a different flavor, I'm going to be adding in there some nice sweet peppers that I'm going to be cutting up here in a moment, and a sweet onion, which I've already started cutting, because that, in my opinion, is the hard part, and I don't really want to do that on camera. I did have some things set up beforehand. The oven is preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Bear in mind, as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm an American. So, take any degrees that I state as Fahrenheit. So, then, alright, I have already a little bit of hash brown or so in each of my little cups here, along with them already being oiled up. That really is the end of what I've done off camera, because I wanted to do most of it on camera, obviously. So what I'm going to do here now, before anything else, I'm going to get the, paper that I don't need and the butter. Off of there, I'm going to put the butter in a bowl. For right now, mise en place, people. Mise en place is a big, big, big deal. There we go. Alright. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start browning. We're using, I forgot this camera's on, breakfast turkey sausage. This is what we're going to be using for our meats. And I'm going to go ahead and oil up this pan here. It's already non-stick, but I don't trust non-stick, so I double non-stick everything. I'm going to go ahead and start this on a medium. I don't want this to cook too fast. I just want to brown the meat, and then I'm going to drain it, and I'm going to put it into a bowl and put it off to the side, because I just want to brown, because brown food tastes good. And from there, I'm going to basically just mix it and everything else together. And we're all going to put everything into the muffin tins as we go along. So, then, I have that started. I'm going to go ahead and, that's my vegetable knife. Here's my meat knife. Go ahead and slice this open here. Another thing I probably should have done off camera, but oh well. I'm using non-cased, just turkey sausage in general, because we have some issues with casing of sausages, and sometimes it's just gross. So no, this is not vegan in any way, shape, or form. Basically, I'm putting in this totally. I have some 6 cheese Italian blend, the sweet peppers, onions, hash browns, egg whites, salt, pepper, maybe some seasoning salt, and I'm going to cook the onions and peppers in some butter when we get to that point. So, I'm going to pull the garbage can over here, so this way I'm not walking away from the camera when I should be talking on it. Alright, so, very basic, simple cook on the sausage. We're not going to be doing anything too major with this. I'm going to spice up the sausage once it starts, mash it up real good. Round it in the pan. And once I get this grounded up, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up the onions. Onion. I'm only making one onion because We're not huge fans of onions, but I think especially the sweet Vidalia onions adds a nice flavor to this that you can't really get anywhere else. And certainly, we definitely do not like the. I probably should have been using a spatula or something. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to switch over to a spatula. Spatula instead of a wooden spoon, because that was dumb of me to grab the wooden spoon in the first place. There we go. Alright, we don't want to over season the meat itself, because we are going to put seasoning inside of the egg mixture when we get to that point. So, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt for the cook. Not too much. That doesn't go very fast, so even if anybody at home's like, hey, you actually put quite a bit in there. No, not really. Mashing it up. Alright, now I'm going to let that cook. I'll let that do its thing for a couple of minutes. It's on medium heat, shouldn't be too bad. Alright, now we begin mise en placing. Mise en place is a very, very important thing. Normally you do this before you cook, and when I'm cooking on my own, I do have it all prepared beforehand. Now, please bear in mind, I've never been to culinary school or anything along those lines, and up until a few years ago, I was burning water. So anything that I do that is not quote-unquote professional, I apologize for ahead of time. I'm not a professional. I am, however, a nerd, and I've watched a lot of cooking television, so... Alright. Worst part, onion cutting. Ooh boy. Just because they're Vidalia don't mean they don't sting the eyes. I want itty bitty little pieces. I don't want anything too big in here. However, I'm not too concerned. This is just a very rough chop. Not looking for finely diced or anything along those lines. Boy, this is a juicy Vidalia. The thing to remember is, when you're cutting onions like this, never touch your eyes. When you start touching your eyes, that's when things start getting real bad, and a little bit of... It goes from stingy and annoying to actually painful. A little bit rougher because that was a big piece. Yeah, everything I'm going to pretty much, what's called par cooking, is mostly getting it done in a pan. However, I am going to be baking everything for 20 minutes after all is said and done. Obviously, I'm not going to stand by and watch it in the oven. I'm going to turn off this stream and start up a Breath of the Wild stream while it's cooking, and then we'll come back afterwards. So and I talk about rough. Jeez. Next time around, I will make sure I'm not cooking something with onions. Hit it with that dicey dice. It'll be so nice dicing up peppers after this. I'm glad I started with this instead of ending with it. Ugh. Probably not even going to use all this onion. It's alright. Actually, yeah, I'm going to end at that point and cut up 75% of the onion. We don't need any more than that. It's actually going to be quite a bit of onion with our stuff there. So, and as I said, we're not really onion eaters here. So give me a second. I'm going to go wash my hands. I'm going to get into cutting some peppers. Also the face, because, oh, stingy eyes. Oh. Alright, flush that down the drain there. Alright, there we go. Whoo boy. Alright, now I'm going to give a little stirriness to the meat. Coming along nicely. A little bit more juice in there than I thought there would be. That's alright. When we're getting closer to the end here, I'll pop it up on high and let it cook off some of this juice. Flippy flip. Now again, like, you want this brown, you don't want it burnt. Actually, just leave the juice in there. I gotta drain the meat to get the get it into the bowl, because I don't want greasy meat in my frittatas. That gets everything way too moist. Ugh, way too wet. And so it makes everything kind of unpleasant. You don't want squishy frittatas. Which was my Nelly Furtado cover band, by the way, if you were wondering. Alright, onions off to the side. Next bowl up. Get that off of there. Alright. Next thing, add some color to this piece. We are going to do some nice mini sweet peppers. These are actually Florida organic. We make sure that we get those as opposed to everything else. I'm going to give these a quick rinse off an old sink. Couple red. Some orange. And do I have any green in here? I have no green. So let's just do some red and some orange. There's a yellow one. We'll use the yellow one. Alright, I'm going to run these over to the sink really quick and wash them off. Just a quick rinse. Nothing major. Since they're washed pretty well. Alright. Keep forgetting that's where the oven vent's at. Alright. Peppers, really easy. You don't need to de-seed these. A little bit of bruising is not going to hurt anything. But these, you kind of want them to have some shape still. You don't want the top end. The bottom end is fine, but you don't want the top end. See? Get some nice, you want some nice shapes on these. And you can ribbon cut them or do both. I'm going to ribbon cut this one, which is squishing it down. When you're cutting, by the way, when you're cutting something and you don't have a full hold on it, do what's called the claw on what you're cutting. It keeps you from accidentally slicing your finger off. See? Nice ribbon cuts. You want to do a little bit of both. The peppers we are not going to brown because they'll lose some of that crunch. So we want them to stay mostly crisp when we put them into the oven. So this way you make sure that it doesn't, again, you're trying to put as little sogginess into this as possible. It's kind of the reason why we're cooking up the onion, to get rid of some of the sogginess, because the soggier something is when it gets in there, the longer it's going to take to cook, and you don't want that, because eggs are going to cook regardless, but soggy frittatas are just not good at all. I'm going to put on the yellow one here, I'm going to do a kind of a mix chop on this one. Super thin, round cuts. Mix it up a little bit. Squeeze! Put the itty bitty shapes. Booyah. And there we have a nice, very pretty bowl of peppers. Peppers off to the side. Alright, now this is still a little wet, so we're going to go ahead and pot this up a little bit higher, just for a couple of minutes to finish off browning it. Let it get hit with that super heat for a couple of moments, and then we're going to go ahead and put everything into, brown this, start cooking the onions, and then we're going to, at that point, mix everything into one bigger bowl, here with the butter in it, and that mixture is what we're going to put into the frittata, into the onions. Now, putting hot meat and eggs into there is fine. It's just going to cook the eggs a little bit faster. Thankfully, we're not, overcooked eggs are better than undercooked, obviously. And we're going to be putting enough flavor into these that you don't really need to do much to them, especially with the cheeses and stuff. I'm going to actually put some cheese inside of it, and I'm going to put some cheese on top of it as well. When we get to that point, I'm going to clean off my cutting board here. Pretty much done with the cutting board. So I'm going to put that off to the side. Leave the veggie knife out just in case. While we're waiting for this to cook, we are going to address the some comments I've gotten in Slack and everything. So really quick, while we're just letting that cook, we're just letting that brown. Unfortunately, when you're cooking something, it kind of always has this one little bit of downtime, and That's the disadvantage of doing something when you're streaming. Do 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 do. All right. Again, and again, if you have any question on what temperature the oven is supposed to be, 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to cook this for about 20 minutes when everything is said and done. All right, got some nice brownness going on here. And because it's turkey sausage, there's not a lot of grease in there. Most of the grease is from the spray that I put on there. So we don't really need to drain this. We're going to go ahead and put this into a, for the love of all that is holy, a ceramic bowl. I've done this, I say this because I've done it. Obviously, this is super hot right now. So you don't want to put it into a plastic bowl just yet, because it's going to do nothing but melt right through it, and it's going to cause a big disaster. So carefully, carefully, I'm going to put this from the pan into the bowl. And we're going to set this into the fridge for a little bit, just to cool it down a little bit, because you don't want super hot. You don't want it cooking the eggs before we get it into the oven. So look at that nice greasy-ish plate. Let's get a quick extra chop up in the bowl here. All right. You don't want it enough to get it cold. That's the reason why we're only putting it in there for a couple of minutes. You're just trying to take the heat off to where it's not cooking it ahead of time. Obviously, if you did it right now, you get a lot of heat, and it would end up cooking things before you actually want them cooked. So that goes into there. Next thing, a little bit of butter, because onions cook better with butter. This is about, what, quarter of a cup of butter in there? About a teaspoon, or a tablespoon. That's about all you need. We don't have a lot of stuff that needs the butter. So, in goes the onions. And a very similar thing here. We're just going to let these brown up a little bit. And turn the heat down on this, because onions burn and cook quickly. So you don't want that at all. With the onions, we're going to put a little bit of, because we want a little bit more flavor in this, I'm actually going to cook with some Lowry seasoning salt in with the onions themselves. Not a lot, as you saw, just maybe a tablespoon at most. That's just going to add some extra flavor in there that it's not going to get from anywhere else. It's not enough to really affect that, but I found that seasoning salts, in particular the Lowry's one, the stove is obviously clean. Lowry seasoning salt in particular has a lot of good flavors that goes really well with Vidalia onions. So I'm going to set that there for like 2 seconds. I'm going to go grab some coffee. I will be right back. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Like I said, just grabbing some coffee. Never have too much coffee in the kitchen. Alright. So, low and slow on the onions is paying off. They're starting to get a little bit of caramelization to them. Again, you don't want a ton. Now the onions, especially since we're cooking them lower, aren't really going to get super hot. So we're going to not really worry about putting these in the fridge for right now. It should be just fine just putting them directly in there. It shouldn't put too much of a hamper on them. We're looking for when we get everything set and done, we're looking for a nice golden brown on the frittata itself. Baking eggs, especially egg whites, tends to produce nice fluffy consistencies. So that's what we're aiming for here. We want just nice fluffy. We don't want too much. While we're waiting for that to caramelize, we're going to go ahead and start putting a couple peppers in each one here. Mix them up so we get a little bit of mix of the... Oh, I mixed one. I missed one. That's alright. Not too worried. 3 or 4 pieces each. And it's the first time I've made frittatas like this, so I'm interested on how it's going to come out, and I'll try one on camera when they come out, because the chef must always try to test his own work. Alright. There's that. Easy. Alright, I'm going to call that good on the onions. We're going to go ahead and turn off the stove and put those back into the onion bowl. Because we're not quite ready for that yet. Alright, there's those. Alright. Now, this is pretty much done. We're done with the plate, or the we're going to set that over there for right now. So we have onions ready for us. Alright, now comes the fun part. When you're working with liquid eggs like this, you always have to make sure you pay attention to how much is an egg. So 3 tablespoons is 1 egg white, and 3/4 cup is 4 egg whites. So in this container we have 10 egg whites total. So I'm going to reach into this drawer over here. And move the camera a little bit, sorry. Grab our tablespoons. Now in this, we're not doing like super precise measurements for the eggs. We just kind of want enough to fill up about half when everything is said and done. Geek Kitchen calls for Geek Instrument here. Alright, mix those up. And we're only going to put about a teaspoon in each for right now, and we'll go back around. Again, I'm not too concerned with using all of the egg or all of the onions. The onions are not what makes this dish what this dish is. What makes this dish what it is a combination of everything all together. Ah, look at that. It's almost as though I've planned this. I didn't plan this. Anybody who knows me knows I didn't plan this. Alright. That. Now we're going to push it down a little bit. Just compress it a little bit. Because again, we're going to be adding in about a scoop of meat into each of these as well. My meatsy meats. Raul in the Twitch chat says 10 eggs equals 1 meal. Not for people who've had bariatric surgery, which is who I'm making this for. So, yeah. I appreciate you, but I'm gonna disagree with you. I've never been huge on eggs anyway. It just never seemed to be something that I dug. Let me move this over to the main area so that way I'm not, you know, putting things into where they should be off screen. I'm a professional! Yay! Look at how pretty this is. Thankfully, I know this is already cooked all the way through. So, oop. Look at me dirtying up extra pans. Alright. Make sure there's about equal in each. Oh, there needs some serious love. Alright. Alright. Just so you know, I'm not willing. I love turkey sausage. Turkey sausage is so good. If you're one of those people who've never tried turkey sausage, you deserve it to do it. It's much healthier than pig meat, and to me, personally, I like it better. Alright, so now again, about halfway up on each of these, a little bit more with the eggs, because they're going to expand. They're in the oven. There we go. There's those. Just the right amount, too. Yay. Alright, so here we're actually going to get to the proper seasoning of this. We're going to hit each of these up with a dash of salt and pepper. Don't want too much, because remember, we season the meat and we season the eggs a little bit, or the onions rather. But eggs notoriously not flavorful, even with stuff cooked inside of them. So I hate pepper unless it's fresh crushed like this. So there's those. And of course, the piece de la resistance. You will never see me cook anything without cheese for the most part. I can do vegetarian, not vegan. I need my real cheese. I've tried vegan cheese. Not really my, not my thing, yo. So just a pinch on top of these because you're gonna be putting a. I have other cheese that I'm gonna put on top of these when we're done cooking. But extra cheese, yes please. Ro is a fan of the cheese. I am with you, brother. Alright, we've got much of this left. So I'm gonna... I mean, I should have done this beforehand, but I gotta test it. Don't judge me. In total, there's gonna be like an 8 cheese frittata. Because, spoiler alert, I'm gonna put some Colby Jack on top of these when they're done cooking. It's gonna be freaking insane. But this cheese is simple. For those who are in the South, I'm just using a Publix 6 cheese Italian, which is mozzarella, provolone, Parmesan, Asiago, Fondina, and Romano cheeses. So, at this point, we have our oven preheated. We have our food ready to go. You know, CJ, these aren't real frittatas. Frittatas have blah, 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 blah. I know. However, again, I'm not a real chef. I just play one on Twitch. This is fun. I like doing this. Infinity Gauntlet serves me well. Alright, so those are in the oven. I'm gonna hit this, set a timer for 20 minutes. And now, I'm going to cut this stream and we're going to go play some Zelda while that's going. Be right back.